welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you are learning English, or, well, even if you speak it fluently, but sometimes struggle with those finer points of advanced conversation, you definitely know the terror that is the English phrasal verb.
Oh, absolutely. Those little two-word phrases, they change everything.
They really do, like turn down or set up. They're often the difference, aren't they, between sounding intermediate and truly advanced?
That's right.
So today we're tackling one that's particularly context-heavy to take over. It's just incredibly versatile. I mean, it can describe anything from, helping out a colleague.
Right, like covering a shift.
All the way to a hostile corporate merger, or even a violent coup. It's quite the range.
It really is.
We've gathered our sources, and our mission today is to really dissect the 6 distinct lives of to take over. We'll chart its use from that common B2 workplace stuff right up to the really sophisticated C2 competitive language.
Okay,
let's unpack this. How can one verb do so much heavy lifting?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is that mastering this specific verb is almost like a bridge across that fluency gap, from B2 to C1, maybe even C2.
Right.
The real genius here isn't just that it has multiple meanings, but how the grammar itself, specifically that choice between active and passive voice, signals the intent. Is it cooperation or is it coercion?
Okay. So the grammar does the signaling.
Exactly. For the advanced speaker, that shift is immediate. So we're going to trace that grammatical signal as we go through its different uses. You'll see how this one simple phrase is just essential for talking about, everything from personal crises to global market shifts.
Okay, let's start with what seems like the clearest application. We're calling it the power dynamic. This is all about assuming a role or task.
Right.
So, meaning number 1. This is B2 level, very common. To take over a task or role voluntarily. This is the friendly version.
Yes, the smooth, cooperative handover. And when it's voluntary like this, the focus is all on the person doing the taking over, the one helping out.
So you use the active voice.
Almost always, yes. The emphasis is on the actor, the helper. It's their initiative.
Got it. So think practical office language.
Sure.
Like using the present continuous for something temporary.
Yeah.
She is taking over the client meeting because her boss is sick.
Exactly. Cooperative, temporary, or just the past simple, documenting that smooth change. Mark took over the report after Anna left early. No drama.
And the future simple, showing you intend to help. I will take over your task while you're on vacation. Pure collaboration.
Zero fuss.
Okay, so if meaning 1 is the friendly handover, the polar opposite must be forest. Meaning number 4. This is C1, also common. To take control or responsibility by force. How do we signal that massive shift in dynamic just using grammar?
Yeah, that's where context is vital, obviously, but the passive structure often becomes really important.
Okay.
This meaning is about seizing something, a position, an organization, maybe a location, without any permission. So when this happens, speakers often shift to the passive voice. Why? Because they want to emphasize the thing being seized.
The entity that lost control.
Precisely. Rather than focusing on the aggressor, the victim, if you like, becomes the grammatical subject.
Right, so the focus changes depending on who's telling the story and what they want to emphasize. If I'm reading a headline focused on the attackers, it might stick to the active. Rebel forces often take over government buildings during uprisings.
Correct. Active voice puts the rebels front and center, but if the news wants to highlight the vulnerability, the involuntary nature of it,
Then they flip it.
immediately. The nation's key broadcasting station was taken over by hackers last night. Using all code taken over instantly communicates aggression, not cooperation.
It really sets the tone, doesn't it, for high-stakes political stuff. And we can use conditionals here too, right, to speculate about consequences.
Absolutely. Conditionals are perfect here. Like the second conditional for a hypothetical. If they took over the city, civilians would suffer the most. That sentence structure itself flags it as a dire, unwanted possibility.
Okay, clear contrast there between voluntary and forced. Let's shift gears now, move into the marketplace. This segment deals with replacement and acquisition.
Different domain entirely.
Meaning number 2, this is B2, quite common. To replace someone or something, substitution. This feels less about power dynamics and more like, a trend.
Exactly. It's often less personal. This usage is about something new, gradually substituting something older, an item, a method. Very common when you're talking about technology or long-term societal shifts.
Which makes continuous tenses useful.
Very handy, yes. Because it often describes an ongoing process.
Right. It's like the inevitable march of progress. We see it now. Digital payments take over cash in many countries nowadays. It's gradual, driven by efficiency.
And to emphasize that ongoing momentum, the present perfect continuous is great. Streaming services have been taking over traditional TV for years. The process isn't finished, but the trend is clear.
And looking forward, AI will take over many administrative tasks in the next decade. So this meaning is purely about replacement efficiency, modernity driving it.
Pretty much.
But replacement isn't always gradual or societal, is it? Sometimes it's sudden, strategic, purely financial. Which brings us to meaning number 5, C1, quite common. To acquire a company or organization. The business world.
Ah, yes, the corporate meaning. This is about gaining control, usually through a strategic buyout, buying up shares, the classic example everyone uses.
Google and YouTube.
Still the one. Google took over YouTube in 2006. It's clean, professional language for a massive business move.
And this feels like a great context for the future perfect tense. You know, projecting a completed financial action by a certain deadline. Very strategic language.
Precisely. By 2030, the group will have taken over most of the national banks. Using will have taken over sounds so definite, doesn't it? Finalized, part of a long game.
It does.
And you often see it used as a gerund, too, when discussing the act itself. Taking over struggling businesses can be risky, but often rewarding. Taken over becomes the subject there.
Okay. Let's move to our final category, which feels the most nuanced. Domination, emotion, and competition. These meanings really push into that C1 and C2 territory.
Yes, the intangibles.
Meaning number 3, C1, common. To be overwhelmed or dominated by an emotion or force. It's amazing that the same verb for a military coup also describes inner turmoil. How did the context make that distinction so clear? The verb's identical.
It's entirely down to the subject of the sentence. When the subject is something abstract, intangible, like panic, fear, anxiety, immediately it's this internal emotional meaning.
Okay.
But the underlying idea, it's actually the same as the coup. Loss of control. The person is no longer in the driving seat.
So an example for momentary lapse, maybe past simple.
Yep. Panic took over the crowd after the explosion. The force is external in a sense, but intangible. It overwhelms them.
Or if the struggle's internal, ongoing, back to present continuous.
Exactly. Anxiety is taking over her mind before the presentation. You, the listener, know instantly the battlefield here is mental, not physical.
And we can generalize using modals.
Yes, that's quite sophisticated phrasing. Emotions can take over in high-pressure situations. It speaks to a general human experience of losing control.
Okay. And finally, we reach the peak, the C2 level usage, meaning number 6, to surpass or outcompete. Superiority.
This is a favorite in business and tech reporting. It means becoming significantly more successful, more influential, or just more powerful than your rivals in the same field. Pure competitive dominance.
So wait, if company A takes over company B, it could mean they bought them, like meaning 5. Or it could mean they just completely crushed them in the market, meaning 6. That sounds like potentially serious ambiguity in a press release.
It could be, but the surrounding context usually clarifies it instantly. When we talk about influence or market share, we usually mean surpassing, not buying. Like, social media platforms have taken over traditional news outlets in recent years.
Right, they didn't buy the newspapers?
No, they stole their audience, their advertising revenue, their influence. That's meaning 6.
That distinction, acquisition versus competitive victory, that feels very C2 level understanding.
It is. And you can use advanced conditionals here too, discussing high-level strategy or maybe regret.
How so?
Well, the third conditional is perfect for missed opportunities. If they had invested earlier, they would have taken over the entire sector. That clearly expresses regret about not achieving market superiority.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered 6 distinct meanings. Everything from just lending a hand
to crushing your competition.
What really ties it all together seems to be the incredible grammatical range this phrasal verb gives you.
Definitely. And if we link this back to practical fluency for learners, notice how essential the conditionals are across all 6 meanings.
Right.
They are just critical for talking about intention or hypothesis or regret, things that naturally come up when you discuss control or substitution.
We saw the third conditional for past regret in business, meaning 6, if they had invested.
Okay.
But you could use it for meaning 1 too, right? Showing helpful intent.
Absolutely. If she had asked, I would have taken over immediately. Same grammatical structure, totally different context and meaning. Business regret versus friendly assistance.
That's powerful.
And don't forget using to take over as a gerund or an infinitive. That's vital for building those longer, more complex, sophisticated sentences.
We mentioned the gerund as a subject earlier.
Yeah.
Taking over struggling businesses. How does the infinitive fit in?
Works perfectly as the object of a planned action. For instance, back to the voluntary task assumption. I offered to take over while she was in the hospital. See how easily to take over slots into that longer sentence describing a plan.
Yeah, I do. That is a phenomenal amount of meaning packed into 2 small words.
Okay.
So to quickly recap the 6 meanings we've nailed down for to take over. 1, assuming a task voluntarily, cooperatively.
The friendly one.
2, replacing old methods, often tech or societal trends. Substitution.
Gradual chain.
3, being overwhelmed by emotion or an intangible force. Emotional domination.
Losing inner control.
4, seizing power by force. Coercion.
The coup meaning
5, buying a business, corporate acquisition.
a finance one.
And 6, becoming superior through competition, outcompeting rivals.
Market dominance. You know, this really raises a big question, doesn't it? If one single verb can describe helping out in the office and a violent political coup,
Yeah.
what does that tell you about the absolute critical power of context in English? The only real difference between a colleague helping out and a general seizing the capital is the noun you pair the verb with.
That really is the core insight, isn't it? Context is everything.
Yeah.
And for a final provocative thought for you listening, we talk about the future perfect continuous tense.
A challenging structure, but very useful.
We used it for those long-term, ongoing takeover trends.
Right. The example was, by the end of this decade, new technologies will have been taking over our daily routines for nearly 20 years. That continuous aspect is key.
So we encourage you to try and tackle this structure. Think about your own life, professional or personal. What aspects of your job, maybe your commute, even your finances, what will have been taking over parts of your life in the next 5 years? Try to frame your answer using one of those future tenses we discussed. That's your fluency challenge.
True one.
That was our deep dive into the many lives of to take over. We really hope your journey towards C1 fluency just got a bit clearer. Thanks for joining us.